industrial parks and universities fly by. Now, picture a different journey, 14 hours southwest, on a treacherous single-lane road winding through arid mountains. This is the Quetta-Karachi highway, a route so deadly locals call it the killer highway. This isn't just a story of two roads, it's a story of two Pakistans. One is a tale of industrial growth and prosperity, concentrated in one area. The other is a story of systematic neglect and being left behind. This division isn't random, it's a kind of spatial apartheid, where opportunity is dictated by political power and geography, leaving entire regions like Balochistan and parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa stranded in a different century. So, how did one province become a development island? Punjab's dominance wasn't an accident. Its flat, irrigated plains, a legacy of colonial-era projects, were the perfect canvas for a large-scale economy. Over time, this created a cycle. Developed regions attract more investment, more banks, more skilled workers, and better infrastructure. This pulls resources away from less developed areas. As a result, Punjab became a magnet for growth, now hosting the vast majority of Pakistan's large-scale manufacturing. Its factories and fields are the engine of the national economy. It's no surprise that the 20 least vulnerable districts in the entire country are all in Punjab. It's a bubble of prosperity, but that prosperity rarely crosses provincial lines. Now let's look at the other side of the coin, Balochistan. It's a story of what experts call persistent neglect. A staggering 17 of Pakistan's 20 most vulnerable districts are located here. This isn't just bad luck, it's structural abandonment. Think about this. Balochistan makes up almost half of Pakistan's landmass and is rich in mineral wealth, yet its people have seen their real income decline over the last 2 decades. Many hoped the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPSE, would change this. The deep-sea port of Gwadar was promised to become the next Singapore. A decade later, that promise feels like a mirage. Of the more than $25 billion spent on CPAC projects, a tiny fraction actually reached Gwadar. The city still faces chronic power shortages. Even more shocking, not a single kilometer of motorway has been built in Balochistan under CPX, while Punjab gets new, federally funded highways. A similar story, though less discussed, has unfolded in the former tribal areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or KPK, for decades. This region was a developmental black hole, deliberately isolated and governed by old colonial-era laws. The government's policy was one of containment, not integration. This left the region with shockingly low literacy rates and almost no infrastructure. Even after these areas were officially merged with KPK in 2018, the legacy of neglect continues. The same economic forces that supercharged Punjab's growth left KPK as a capital desert. Its rugged terrain and security issues scared off private investment, and public money flowed elsewhere. Today, the region is trying to rebuild from scratch, but it's starting so far behind that even small improvements feel like a drop in the ocean. You might think, well, geography is destiny, right? Punjab has flat plains, and Balochistan has rugged mountains. It's true that geography plays a huge role. Punjab's fertile land creates a surplus economy, funding industrialization and supporting large cities. Balochistan, with its arid climate and severe water scarcity, faces what some call a Malthusian ceiling, hard natural limits on economic growth. Building roads is incredibly expensive, and with scattered, low-density populations, it's hard to create economies of scale. But geography doesn't tell the whole story. If it did, how do you explain the recent federal approval of $4.6 billion for new projects, including a $1.5 billion motorway in Punjab, while Balochistan received only $121 million for its critical killer highway? At this pace, it will take 13 years to dualize that road. This isn't geography, it's a choice. These infrastructure gaps are both a symptom and a cause of the divide. All the communication networks, banks, and utilities are concentrated in developed areas, creating a gravitational pull for even more investment. It's a vicious cycle. When a company does decide to open a factory in a less developed area, they often set up just across the provincial border. They use the labor and land from the poorer region, but sell their products and generate profits in the richer one. This means the benefits don't stay where they're needed most. Meanwhile, in Balochistan and former FATA, the lack of basic roads means that getting to a school or a hospital depends entirely on how close you live to a city. This traps rural families in a cycle of poverty that passes from one generation to the next. What's driving this? Politics. Pakistan's federal system rewards provinces with larger populations and more parliamentary seats. This means they get a bigger slice of the development pie. For example, during the main CPAC planning phase, the government at the time clearly prioritized its political stronghold, Punjab, while Balochistan, with fewer votes, was an afterthought. This isn't about blaming one party, it's a systemic flaw. Power and money have become concentrated in Punjab, creating a self-serving loop. Development funds by political support, which secures votes, which in turn unlocks even more funds for the same region. Decentralization was supposed to fix this, but it can actually make things worse if dominant regions use their power to hoard resources. The consequences of this go far beyond numbers on a spreadsheet. In Balochistan, this combination of economic hardship and being geographically trapped fuels anger and insurgency. When separatists point to Punjab's shining motorways and then to Gwaddar's unlit streets, their narrative of exploitation is powerful because people can see the inequality with their own eyes. In the former tribal areas, decades of neglect created a vacuum where militancy could grow, turning a development problem into a national security threat. This geography of exclusion has become a geography of instability. So, what's the solution? We need to do more than just launch a few small projects for backward areas. Pakistan needs to make regional equity a central part of its national planning. Every major investment, every highway, every power plant needs to be evaluated for its spatial impact. How will it affect the regional balance? For Balochistan, this means facing some hard truths. Some areas may never support dense populations. Maybe the solution involves supporting migration to cities or creating direct links between mineral wealth and local community development. For KPK, it means a massive injection of capital to build the basic state functions that other provinces take for granted. And for Punjab, it means recognizing that its own prosperity is not sustainable if it's surrounded by a sea of deprivation. Right now, two Pakistans exist in a state of tension. One is pulling the other backward through resentment and instability. The choice is stark. Either bridge this divide with deliberate, urgent action, or watch the cracks widen into chasms that could threaten the entire national project. The asphalt of Lahore's motorways needs to reach Quetta. The promises of CPAC need to match the reality on the ground. Until then, this dangerous geography of exclusion will continue to define the nation's future. Thanks for watching. If you found this perspective valuable, please like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's keep the conversation going.